All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Rithmm Rundown with myself, Josh Applebaum, and my partner in crime, who we've been grinding since the start of the college football season. Kate, it's been a while. We've transitioned on the Rithmm Rundown. Same show. We're looking at trying to send out some winners here, help people diagnose the betting market, and obviously cash with Rithmm. Teach you how to use Rithmm. So many different ways you can attack it. But Kate and I, whole point of this show is to kind of show people how we use Rithmm to our advantage and how we kind of lean on Rithmm really to be honest, Cade, to help us cash some tickets. So football, of course, is over, but we got college basketball, Cade. So once again, we're going to be talking about the college hoop slate for tonight. Also want to kind of hit on a little bit of March Madness. I know it's not March yet. We are not at the conference tournaments yet, Cade, but if you look at a lot of the schedules, I mean, most teams only have a couple games left of the regular season. So before you know it, it's going to be immense. Then it's going to be March Madness. And we do have baseball in spring training right now. So we do have the Rithmm predictions here for MLB as well. But, Cade, before we get into it, again, I got one bet in particular I want to hit on, Drexel versus Campbell. I know you want to talk about Michigan State and Purdue. And then, of course, we'll open up to any questions. Anyone has any things they want to get answered, we'll do our best to answer that as well. But, my man, how you doing? What's going on? And happy Rithmm Rundown Thursday.
Yeah, it's warming up finally. I don't know how warm it is where you are, but I walked outside this morning and it was snowing. 8 hours later, it is 62 and sunny. This is more bipolar than like some people at my high school back in the day. Like it's pretty bad. Like I hate it, but I love it at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. Spring's approaching, March is approaching. Vibes are high, and yeah, March Madness is slowly creeping in, so the excitement's kind of building up a little bit. So yeah,
you're totally right, man. And I think again, you're in Ohio, I'm in Massachusetts, so I don't know what the winter's been like for you, but I'm born and raised New Englander. I went to the University of Vermont. I lived in Boston. I grew up in Western Mass. I live in the outskirts of Boston now, but I've always known New England winters to be tough. This one's been hard, Kate, and I'm not one to complain because I'm used to it. But my in-laws actually just moved from San Diego to New Hampshire, and they've really had a rude awakening here because it's been super snowy. We set records for the amount of snow and all the cold days and everything. So I think you got to just, look forward to things, have things at the end of the tunnel to get you excited. So for us, I'm right there with you, Cade. Snow's melting a bit, starting to see a little bit of grass. Baseball, we can, go down to, Arizona or Florida. They're doing spring training. And of course, March Madness. So I think it's an exciting time as sports bettors. We're sad football's over. We're starting to look forward to a few things here that get us excited to get down and make some wagers. So very much looking forward to that. Now, I want to share my page, Cade, because they must have just put this up, Megan and Brian and the whole crew, because I always go to the homepage and just kind of say to myself, okay, what's Rithmm doing? What new additions? What are the updates going on here? What I love seeing, Cade, on the topic of March Madness, right here, baby. March brackets are coming soon. So if you haven't done a March Madness with Rithmm yet, you've been missing out so far for a couple of years, but you won't have to worry about it this year. But what Rithmm has been doing is kind of creating these brackets, and they give you specific models that you can lean on. And you and I, a couple weeks ago, Cade, created a model that I don't know if you've been tracking it, man, but it's been doing pretty good. So maybe we could, reevaluate that or kind of update it a bit. But with these brackets, I think it really is interesting approaching the bracket from a different perspective, because when you get into the public mindset, Cade, it's always like take the higher ranked team, the bigger name school, chalk all the way. And again, sometimes chalk does well, but they call it March Madness for a reason. That's usually because the top team doesn't win it all. There's crazy upsets, amazing, unbelievable things happen. But this is really cool that Rithmm is once again this year providing us these different brackets where we can pick a model and then it'll spit out to us what bracket we might want to think about tailing. Reminder, we always have our tutorials. If you have any questions, we have our Discord channel. We also have a bunch of different offers. Cade, you and I always stress the importance of shopping for the best number, having multiple outs. So if you're looking to add another book, a lot of great offers there to take advantage of. The Discord channel, as I mentioned. And then also we have our refer a friend. So right top corner here, you can share this link. You'll both get a little sweetener. Before we dive into our bets for tonight, Cade, I think we kind of want to get people a little bit excited. They probably are anyway, but just talking about March Madness. So I'll throw it to you. I have some, tried and true. Again, nothing's ever guaranteed, but systems that I've leaned on when it comes to March Madness in years previous. I'll toss it to you though. How do you attack March Madness? Just you don't have to give me who you like to win it all or anything, but like, how do you approach it differently from regular season? And then if you are someone who likes to fill out a bracket, any tips or anything about approaching the bracket?
Yes. March Madness is probably when I dive into splits the most across college basketball as a whole. Um, if anything, and it sounds crazy because like of how March Madness is literally built off of madness and chaos and upsets, dogs. People love to bet on dogs in March Madness. So like a lot of the times you like how we kind of see in the regular season, you see like heavy lopsided splits on favorites. I mean, a lot of people they actually bet on dogs in March Madness. So it's kind of tricky. It's almost like you're kind of taking your doctrine and reversing it in a way. But a lot of times you have to be really careful. That's why I watch out just for splits because it may look like the entire timeline is on some plus whatever dog and, and like splits say otherwise, like completely otherwise, and timeline might be on the sharp side, you never know. So I definitely do like to dig into the split a lot more data and stuff like that. Don't really rely on that much as far as rankings and stats go because like I'm not going to be looking comparisons from a Horizon team to an SEC team. So I think it's going to be pretty night and day for doing that. So a lot of it, yeah, like a lot of it is still pretty doctrine related in terms of contrarian and just trying to be on the sharp side as possible and getting the key number because these lines move a lot and they move fast.
Yeah, great points there. And I'll just piggyback on you here, Cade. Like a few things that I look to do. You mentioned the splits, obviously super important to me, just because I think, and you made the great point here of like when you go on your Twitter timeline and you see this all the time, like there's like a herd mentality of like, oh, everyone's on this team tonight, or like, oh, this team is super trendy, or there's a couple nights ago where I saw everyone talking about a trendy dog, and it's like, okay, that means a dog that's popular, getting 50% or more tickets. I looked at the VSiN splits for DraftKings and Circa, and this dog was getting like 30% of bets. So I'm like, no, it wasn't a trendy dog. So to your point of like, don't let, herd mentality or people all telling you one thing. Don't let that just, you should have like an alarm bell in your head that like, okay, let me go verify that. Let me make sure that there's data to kind of back that up. To the point of also taking dogs. Absolutely, man. I think if you look at, betting against the public, it really kind of heightens when it comes to March Madness because you have more and more average Joe betters, Joe and Jane. I mean, it's everybody's filling out a bracket. If you can identify games where 80% of bets are on one side, the favorite -7, and we can take that dog +7 that might be getting down to 6.5 that no one wants to play. Those are the angles that I really love to exploit. And it's also interesting to me too, Cade, like the 8 versus the 9, the 10 versus the 7, like those games where, the 8 is versus the 9, but the 9 seed is -2 against the 8 seed, like people will automatically just take the higher seed. But oftentimes you want to let the betting market be the equalizer because you remember, the schedule, the people, the committee that are going to, rank and rate and put all these seeds together, that's based on human judgment. It's not based on the market, the betting market. That's the great equalizer there. So that's something to look out for. I want to just mention one thing about the bracket though, because it got me excited to see that the Rithmm March brackets are coming soon. Kate, I always like to talk about creating a contrarian bracket because I think when you're betting March Madness, there's two things going on. We want to bet games individually as they're, played in front of us that day, that night. But we also want to hold a bracket. It's kind of that weird time of year where you can have a futures that is not that long. It's not a futures ticket that it's going to cash in 8 months. It's a futures that's going to cash in a month. But then also you want to kind of supplement your bankroll where hopefully we're making money on our individual bets using Rithmm to our advantage. And then also we're hopefully doing well in our bracket pool. The one thing about creating a contrarian bracket, which I think is really interesting, when people get their bracket, Cade, 99 out of 100 people are going to start filling out the ends, the sides, the wide margin. Let's go through the 32 on each side. When you create a contrarian bracket, what you do is you start in the middle. So like the most important thing is picking your champion and picking a champion that hopefully will cash. maybe you don't win it all, but at least you get them to the Final Four. The important thing there is that, if the deeper you get into an office pool or any kind of pool you're going to make, people who are leading after the first weekend don't always win the whole thing. Like you could have a great opening round of 64, 32, but you've had several, teams knocked out and you're going to start to lose points. And then also in these brackets, you get more points the further along you progress and stay alive. So if you pick your champion first and you kind of pick a champion that other people aren't betting, like for example, champion right now that's most popular, Cade, Michigan plus 380 at DraftKings to win it all, Duke plus 425, Arizona plus 450. I would venture to say that vast majority of the public is going to pick either Michigan or Duke. Maybe they'll pick Arizona. You got to pick a team that people aren't thinking about. So like Houston's plus 1,000, Florida plus 1,100, Illinois plus 1,200, UConn plus 1,400, Iowa State plus 1,600. Next one is Kansas plus 2,500. I'm not going to say you're going to pick some ridiculous school to win it all, but if you just go a little contrarian and you pick like Florida to win it all, they're probably not going to get the most amount of tickets here. So you got to differentiate yourself from the herd, because if you're able to win, like if everyone wins and it's chalky, you're not going to differentiate yourself. You're going to be with everyone else, with the herd. But if you pick a champion that other people aren't picking and they come through, that's going to help you win your bracket. So that's just something that to me is super important here. With that being said, Cade, enough about that because we got time to do more shows before March Madness. Let's talk about the plays here for tonight, because there are a couple games that we want to hit on, and then we can kind of take this show wherever we want. First thing I'm going to do is go to our college basketball page and pull up the full calendar. A reminder, you can always pick out, just quickly say to Rithmm, hey, give me the best plays overall. So you can just click on your smart signals, your parlay pieces, your recommended bets. That's all going to spit out to you and tell you the most recommended, basically sharpest plays overall. So, App State, Florida Gulf Coast, they're all going to be located here. I wanted to focus on one game that kind of just matched up perfectly with the betting market and what Rithmm is predicting here, Cade. And it happens to be a game that is not super popular, but I think is really marrying the market to what the odds makers and what the Rithmm predictions are telling us. So it happens to be Drexel hosting Campbell. So I want to set the stage here, and we will kind of talk through this and kind of get your take here on this matchup, of course, Cade. What jumped out to me with this matchup, Campbell visiting Drexel, is right off the bat, it's a very low bet game. It's not the most popular game. I always make the joke of, can you name me the mascots? If you can't name me the mascots, it's probably not a heavily bet game. So it's the Dragons, the Fighting Camels. Campbell comes in 13-15. They've dropped 2 of their last 3, though. Just lost to UNC Wilmington, 73-68. Drexel, 15-14. They've won 2 straight, just beat Towson, 68-62. What I like about this one is the way the market has reacted. And I like Drexel on the money line here, Cade. They open as about a pick'em or a very short 1-point home favorite. And we've seen nothing but movement toward Drexel. So Drexel is mostly -1, -1.5. But a lot of books reached 2 earlier today. And Circa, a very sharp book out in Vegas, they got to 2. That was notable to me. This line's never gotten down to a pick. It's never hopped the fence and gone to Campbell, -1. So all movement liability toward Drexel. Low bet game at DraftKings, 62% bets, 73% dollars are on Drexel. So good split here in favor of the Dragons. Ken Palm's got them winning by 1. That's why I want to money line this play and make sure we, win by 1 and cash the bet instead of push a 1 or lose a 1.5. But if you look at the splits at DK, 64% bets, 80% of the dollars are on the Drexel money line. So it tells us, again, we got big money here going with Drexel. Then I look at the stat categories. These are things that as you're watching the game or going into the game that you're hopefully going to bank on. Drexel has the better defensive efficiency, 146 versus 246. Better effective field goal percentage, 189th versus 262nd. They shoot the 3 better, 110th versus 265th. And they limit their opponents to better effective field goal percentage, 24th in the country versus 333rd. Home road is important to me, Cade. Drexel, 11-4 at home. They've played well. Campbell, only 3-11 on the road. And also an angle that I like to employ this late in the year in college hoops, the revenge angle. A lot of these teams are going to play each other now for the second time. I like it when you lost the first one and you're coming back and having the ability to enact some revenge. Drexel lost to Campbell early February, 81-60. So movement toward Drexel. really good bet splits, a bunch of stat category advantages, home road advantage, revenge play. And then what I always like to do, let's see what Rithmm has here. Rithmm has 3 models on the spread, all recommending Drexel. So Drexel -1, Drexel -1.3, and the model you and I created -2.2. But what I really like, again, protecting yourself, money lining a short favorite, just win the game. So all 3 of these money line predictions are saying take Drexel here to win this matchup. So I'll toss it to you, Cade. Thoughts on the Fighting Camels and the Dragons, Drexel versus Campbell?
Yeah, when you said of holding them to a better effective field goal percentage when that is top 25 in the country, even though the record's like not even above 500, or maybe it might be barely. Um, yeah, that's got my eye. If you have a better defense, if you're at home, if you have the revenge angle in line, absolutely love it. If you have the market on your side, even better. It's a better cherry on top. Um, I didn't have this one on my card, but I mean, looking at my models and my personalized one, especially actually, um, does it's not a green star, but it is just a high percentage caution flag, which is a good sign. But all of them, all the rest of them, because we do have pretty much the same model, they also do have Drexel all in theirs as well. But yeah, looking at it initially, if I'm tailing you blindly here, I think I'm going Drexel.
Thanks, man. Well, I'll never expect you to tail me blindly. You tail me when you agree. We'll tail each other. How about that? But that's just goes to show to me again the way I like to use Rithmm, and the beauty of Rithmm is you can use it in a various different amount of ways. You can just say, "Hey, let's go to the homepage and give me your all around best plays of the night." Totally cool. People got busy lives, don't have all the time in the world. They're not as lucky as you and I, Arcade, to kind of work in the betting industry. Hey, spit me out your best plays, your smart signals. But when I can, again, I try to preach this. I feel like I'm, beating a dead horse here, but I know we have new people tuning in and listening. The goal in my position, Kate, is always to start with the betting market, because to me, the betting market, it's very efficient. There's a lot of money on the line. You have odds makers setting these numbers that are really, really sharp. Their power ratings set really, really good numbers. And then how does the market react? If that market movement is all aligning toward team A, and then I go to Rithmm and Rithmm says, yeah, you should bet team A, to me, that's kind of the perfect bet. Doesn't mean it's going to win. No such thing as a lock or a guarantee. But if I can consistently only bet games where the market and Rithmm are in agreement, that gets me excited to sweat a game. Let's go to the biggest game of the night here, Cade, because I'm really glad you had a play on this one, because I had a lean, and I'm curious to see where you're going to go with this one. Ended up not playing it. Also, you need Peacock, Cade, so I hope you paid the extra.
Yeah, what are we doing?
$10 a month. I mean, add up all my subscriptions. I just want to watch college basketball. It's costing me $1,000 a year to watch all these games. But either way, we have 2 great teams going up head to head here: Michigan State and Purdue. They're both 22-5. Purdue is ranked a little bit higher, 8th versus 13th, and they are facing off tonight at Purdue. Now, what's notable to me here, Cade, is the fact that you have a majority of tickets saying this line is too high. They're saying both these teams are relatively equal. Yeah, Purdue's at home, but Izzo, Sparty, it's almost March. You're giving me 6.5 points with Michigan State. Public is taking this trendy dog. That's what I'm seeing here, Cade. Right now at DraftKings, it's not crazy lopsided, but 61% of spread bets are going Michigan State. However, what's interesting to me is that even though a majority of bets are on Michigan State, this line has pretty much stayed toward Purdue, -6.5 at most shops. I mean, some shops even got up to 7. I think one book might have even gotten to 8 earlier today. Like, we've never seen this line get down to like 6 or 5.5. It's always shown liability toward Purdue. And if you look at the Purdue splits at DraftKings, only 39% bets, but 53% dollars on the Boilermakers here. So basically, that's telling me smart money here is going Purdue. You look at Circa out in Vegas, 26% bets, but 53% of dollars are on Purdue. Looks to me like a fade the trendy dog here, play Cade. But let's also check out what Rithmm is predicting for this one, and then I want to get your take on it. So we can scroll down to our 8 o'clocks. Reminder, you can always click the magnifying glass and type it in. It'll take you right to the game. But if we can find this one, let's see. We have a bit of a split. We have one model saying late with Purdue. They should be closer to a 7-point favorite. And I have two models that are leaning Michigan State. They should be around 5.9 or 5.2. So I'll kick it to you, Kate. I'm really glad you wanted to highlight this game. What do your models say? How are you attacking this game? And how do you interpret what Rithmm is recommending we do?
Yeah. So this one, it's funny. I didn't have a side. I actually was playing a total, but I'm really glad that you pointed out the side because my initial lean as well was absolutely on Purdue because, for one, I think Michigan State's a dead horse, and I'm not really a fan of them recently. There's been a lot of buzz regarding of like how they have certain players that I can name. Jeremy Fears, who is apparently then the second coming of Grayson Allen. Nobody likes the guy. Teammate chemistry is all over the place. They're not playing like they usually do. It doesn't feel like an Izzo team. They look lost like every game. And now they're really pretty big dogs. Like you take this line like maybe 2 years ago, roughly. I know, completely different team. But I mean, this is like probably 4, maybe less. I mean, like Michigan State is usually one of those top of the line Big Ten teams that very much so compete, especially this time of year. Izzo is literally named after a month, for crying out loud. Like he has these guys ready normally. This one, not so much. And basically where I'm at with this is they're having a good year. Michigan State is scoring nonetheless. First of all, sorry, I'll actually just say the play. I am on the over, and I see that Rithmm also is as well, which is why I had the over in a way. But yeah, Michigan State scoring almost 80 points per game this year. They're top 40 in the country in offensive efficiency. They've been very solid offensively for pretty much the entire year. It's been consistent that way. The other end of the floor, as far as defense, they're usually been elite. Like that's kind of what Izzo's known for. He's got these tough, gritty defenses, blah, blah, blah. They're 6th in defensive efficiency, and they're allowing just over 63 points a game, which is absurd. That's absurdly low. The only thing with that is Purdue is also very good at scoring the ball, but they're also really good at going around these very, very tough defenses. And it's something that Painter has really, really engraved in these guys' brains all season long. They're exceptional. Braden Smith is one of the best point guards that we've seen in Big Ten history. It feels like he's like top 5 in assists in like his career in the conference, which is insane. You just don't see it anymore. So it's honestly part of me for enjoying a guy for staying more than 1 year in college basketball, right? Shame on me. But no, he's even averaging 15 points per game, and he's dishing out 9 assists per game. And he's not the only one that's sharing the ball, because this is one of the best teams in the country that's sharing the ball. They're 2nd in offensive efficiency. And Fletcher Lawyer, who is also right around the 15 points per game margin. TKR, right around 13 points per game. Everybody on this team averages at least 10 or more, and they're sharing the ball. They're running schemes. They're running screens. They're open. They're making plays happen. They just score at will. It's what they do. And Purdue's off defense isn't necessarily something to foam out the mouth over, so I'm going to trust this kind of game to be a little bit competitive, but more so be a second half runaway for Purdue. If you wanted to, you can probably look into maybe like in first. I mean, I'm not even going to really get into it, but I mean, it might be a closer first half, but I just see Purdue running away with it in the long run. This is one of the best Big Ten games of the year. And it's honestly a shame that I kind of think it shouldn't be really close. Like, you think it's one of the 2 of the most balanced teams, but Michigan State on the road hasn't really been proven much. Nonetheless, the stakes are high, so they're going to put up shots. If I have the green star, mine have 60% chance win probability. 60? Yeah. Gimme. I got it for 139.5 for minus 125 on Profit X. And yeah, that's all I needed. So 135 or 139, 139. Models projecting nearly 145. I see yours is at 146. I just liked it even more. So I like Purdue here. but I main play is the over 142.5. I still like it at 142, even if you can get that. But yeah, I just got the 139 on a different book.
Well, shout out to you, man. 139. We're now seeing 143, 143 and a half. I see a 144 that's just popping right now, Cade. So yeah, I mean, you did a great job here identifying this bet. You're sitting pretty right now with some good CLV. In terms of the side, just to kind of go over it again, then I'm going to fully endorse your total play here. Just the fact that you can have a lean and you can be aware of things in the market doesn't mean you have to bet the game. So like if I'm betting this game, I'm going Purdue. I'm going Purdue because the majority of bets are on the Spartans, yet the line has stayed the same or moved toward Purdue. So that automatically tells me, hey, like even if we go take a step back, Cade, like it opened mostly 6.5 across the market. Odds makers knew when they put that 6.5 out there that they're probably going to get hit with a ton of Sparty money because that feels like a big number. Michigan State getting 6.5, then the betting market takes over. And basically, if it were the case that Sharp said the line was too high, respected money would have brought this thing down. But no, the line stayed where it's at. It's gotten as high as 7 or even a little bit higher, even though majority of bets are on the Spartans. And just from the standpoint of most heavily bet game of the night, go any bar in America. I always make this joke, Cade. You walk in, this game's going to be on the TV. You don't have to tell the bartender to what channel it's on. I hope they paid for Peacock. Maybe it won't be on every bar in America, Cade, because it is kind of in a weird channel. But just from the standpoint of heavily bet game, everyone on Team A, I'm gonna go Team B, and you have that element of not just bet against the public, but some smart money here with a line freeze or even some RLM, fade the trendy dog RLM toward Boilermakers. So I'm with you there. But here's the thing: Rithmm isn't clear to the side. Rithmm is saying, "Hey, 7-point game, 6-point game, 5-point game." So Rithmm is saying it should be between 5 and 7, and wouldn't you know it, smack dab in the middle, 6.5 is the current price. So my market analysis tells me Purdue or nothing. But if we are relying on Rithmm, this would maybe be a layoff. Like it's either Purdue or nothing for me, but there's no clear all 3 green stars lined up on Purdue. But I love your overplay. It makes a ton of sense. You look at some of these, advanced analytics and just from offensive output, we know these teams are good defensively, but both teams are averaging nearly 80 points a game. They're close to 50% field goal percentage. They can shoot the 3. I mean, you have a lot of evidence here for being a higher scoring game. But again, throw that all aside, the betting market is clearly leaning over. I'm looking at Circa right now, Cade. Only 50% tickets, but 60% of money is on this over. And we have clear over steam. It opened as low as, again, you got a great 139.5, 140-ish around there. Now you're up to, 3.5, 4 points. But the really great part about it is Rithmm is very clearly saying, take this over. So mentioned it a second ago, but the first model, 145.5, Green Star recommended. Second model, 145.2. And then the third rundown model that you and I created, 146.1. So that looks like a pretty clear overplay to me. So I'll be, I might tell you on that one, Cade. I might return the favor and go over there with you. I wish I got your 139.5. That's long gone at this point, but definitely makes a ton of sense here to take this over. Any other games you want to hit on, Cade? Any other directions you would like to go in? I'll give you an example of 2 games that I'm on that Rithmm isn't totally with me, but it kind of explains how I try to piece together the puzzle of the market combined with what Rithmm is kind of telling me, although not explicitly. So the first one was Wagner. Wagner is at home against New Haven. And I took Wagner on the money line, Cade. This is a very small game. It is not a popular game. It's an added extra game 306 515 306 516. So anytime you get that 6-digit ID rotation number, that means it's an added extra game. It's not on the main board when you log into your app. It's harder to find. Again, mascot challenge. Can you name me New Haven or Wagner what their mascots are? I won't put you on the spot, Cade. Chargers versus Seahawks. Not in the NFL, but in college basketball. But it's a tiny little game no one wants to play, but the line is clearly going toward Wagner. Wagner opened around -1.5. They're up to -2, now -2.5. You look at some of the splits on Wagner, they look pretty good. Just the fact that we've seen this line move in their direction. You look at DraftKings right now, 69% bets, 80% dollars on Wagner, 71% bets, 93% dollars on Wagner in terms of the money line. So pretty much everything I'm looking at is lining up here with Wagner. Now, again, money lining short favorite. You can get Wagner around minus 130 ish, minus 140, somewhere around there. And if you also look at some other things that, again, when you're trying to build a case to bet a game, you're trying to figure out, okay, how's the market reacting? And then what things can I bank on? But if you look at two advantages for Wagner tonight, offensive efficiency, 292nd sounds terrible, but their opponent here, New Haven, 349th. Better offensive rebound percentage, 92nd versus 355th. 3-point shooting, 36th. Did anyone know that Wagner is 36th in the country in 3-point shooting? 328th versus the Chargers. And free throw shooting, 241st versus 308th. New Haven's only 5-10 on the road. Wagner 6-5 at home. Nothing crazy. But this is also a rest versus tired. This is another reason why I like Wagner. They last played on February 21st. New Haven played on the 24th. So New Haven, it's a quick turnaround for them, and they're on the road. Wagner's at home, ready to go, rested, and then once again a revenge play. I like playing these second time around. You beat us. We remember that. We want to get right back at it and beat you. That would be a revenge play for Wagner. They went to New Haven and lost 80-74 back in mid-January. So I played Wagner on the money line. I got minus 134 at Bally. Here's the thing, though, Cade. It's not clear from a rhythm standpoint which direction to go. Like first model, Wagner minus 2.3, Wagner minus 2.2, and Wagner minus 1.8, if you just do the inverse there. So even though I don't have clearly all Green Star recommended Wagner, I'm finding kind of some backup support here to take Wagner because, again, all these models are telling me it should be about a 2 or 3 point game. So I moneylined Wagner in this one, Cade. I know it's off the beaten path, but any thoughts on this one? I have another play too if you want to go to that one.
Yeah. Keegan Wag. Yeah, I'm all for when Rhythm doesn't necessarily, like you kind of mentioned, doesn't highlight it, put it out, just hey, I'm green type of thing. No, short money line favorites is a big deal. And when they like the short money line favorites, disregarding the green stars, even without them, as long as the models are somewhat agreeing to my extent or to my interest, it's intriguing to me for enough to look into the market and see what it's doing. And then that's when I kind of, that's when you kind of come up with the confirmation of getting your play from that. So yeah, I mean, I'll definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, and by the way, did you know, Cade, Wagner, it's located in Island, New York. So I don't know if Pete Davidson's going to be at the game here tonight, but yeah. So I always try to just a lot of these schools I know, but I've seen their name and I couldn't tell you what state, where they're at. But yeah, did you know Wagner, the Seahawks, from the Spiro Sports Center that's in Staten Island, New York. That's where they play. So let's go Wagner. The other game I just wanted to mention here, Cade, because it's another example of a bet that I made that Rhythm. It's kind of like Wagner, doesn't explicitly endorse, but also kind of, quietly shows some signs that, hey, I'm probably on the right side. And it is a late night game here between, if I can find it, Abilene Christian and Utah Tech. Now, I'm going Utah Tech in this one, Cade. It's, again, a low bet, not an added extra game, but kind of a late night, overlooked matchup. It's a 9 o'clock tip. And what's clear to me is Utah Tech has some advantages in this one. You look at the opening number, they were around minus 2.5, minus 3. They're still 2.5 or 3, but they actually got as high as 3.5 earlier today. So a lot of the movement liability has been toward Utah Tech. Utah Tech is getting 86% bets, over 90% dollars at DK, which would typically worry me. That's very public, but it's a low bet game. It's a late night game. So I don't think that's truly public, even though the percentages are pretty lopsided. But Ken Palm, here's the big advantage. Ken Palm has Utah Tech winning by 5. So if we're looking at a 2.5, 3, Ken Palm's got him by 5. Another angle that I'm going to want to money line Utah Tech and kind of protect ourselves a bit. DK's got 85% bets, over 90% dollars on the Utah Tech money line. They have the better offensive efficiency effective field goal percentage, 3-point shooting. They limit their opponents to a better effective field goal percentage. Utah Tech, by the way, 10-2 at home this year. Abilene Christian's only 3-9 on the road. So I played Utah Tech on the money line around minus 150 ish. We look at some of these recommendations, okay, and it's not totally clear. Like, first one has, again, I like to flip it because I'm on the favorite. So I'm money lining Utah Tech. This has Utah Tech minus 2.6. Second model, Utah Tech minus 2.7. Third, a legit Utah Tech minus 3.2. And I don't know what it is, Cade, but when we created this rundown model, I feel like it's doing pretty good. And then also, it's usually a little bit higher on some of these favorites than my other models. So I don't know if that has
I've
to do with
that.
the way we read it, or does it just happen to be isolating teams that shoot the three better, or I'm not totally sure, but
it's been that way for
model.
totals with it too. But yeah, it's been like frankly a lot higher.
Yeah. So what have you seen with the totals? You're just seeing a higher prediction on
yeah,
overs?
like I just saw one, like I already forget what game it was. I was just scrolling and it had like 69%. But it was a caution flag. So I was like, yeesh. So I don't know. I mean, I'll have to look into it definitely and kind of just mind tracker. I might just write them down, just kind of like write them down, the ones that I just find intriguing to me, and then kind of circle back at the end of the day or the next day and pretty much just like follow up just to see how it does. But yeah, I don't know. Whenever I see the higher win chance numbers, obviously it's definitely a eye catcher.
Yeah, it's intriguing. I noticed that. And, again, as long as it, wins more than it loses, you can overcome the juice.
You're good.
Hey, yeah, you're good. So we don't worry about it too much. But yeah, there's an example of a game that, our model that we created is quite a bit more bullish on Utah Tech than, the other recommended models as well. So this is kind of, again, how I use Rithmm. Sometimes it lines up perfectly where you got green stars out the wazoo all in one side. Other times you got to use a little bit of legwork here to kind of think through your bet and then see how Rithmm is kind of reacting to it. But I am on Utah Tech money line. Cade, any other games you want to hit on? You want to talk a little MLB? Any final thoughts here before we wrap this one up?
I was just scrolling through, doing my due diligence to make sure there's nothing that I just missed, but there actually was, apparently. I don't know if I'm coming up with a play or not. I might. Idaho, Northern Arizona. This one's at 9:00.
Okay, let's find it.
I don't know if you looked at the splits for this one yet, but I just checked at least on VSiN's site for DraftKings. Northern Arizona is catching 80% of money and 60% of tickets, but the line is actually pretty much been at a standstill of 10.5 ever since it opened. And then
Speaking my language, man. If I can just find this game.
There's also 50+% of tickets on the over and 75% of tickets or money on the under. So I don't know. Either it's Idaho or either it's the under. But my models were cautioned, but there's still a decent high win chance on Idaho and the under. So I don't know. It might be. I don't know if I don't want to play both unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah, let's see what's going on here. Okay. So I'm seeing Northern Arizona DK right now updated 60% bets, 84% dollars. Let's see. You mentioned the under, right?
Yeah. I think
okay, that looks appealing to me. 50% bets, 75% dollars. And 146.5 ish. Let's see if it went up at all. Or fell. Looks like it's kind of stayed pretty steady. But Rithmm, let's see what we got lit up here. 2 unders and an over. Some Idahos and some Northern Arizonas. So yeah, first model minus 11.1. Second model 11.4. And we have a couple overs, couple unders. I like your thought process with the splits there because that's definitely appealing to me.
Right.
The one thing is like it hasn't moved a ton either way. So I guess what I would do,
yeah,
and which is definitely notable, it's a low bet game. It's a 9 o'clock game. I would really just wait over the next couple hours. Like what I like to do is,
Yeah.
hey, I got a theory. I'm diagnosing the numbers in this situation. I'm leaning toward this. Obviously, nothing is clearly Green Star recommended from the Rithmm point of view, but I do love late movement on random games. Like if this somehow, I don't know, it's a 9 o'clock Eastern time tip, 8:54, you start to see Idaho get down to 10 or up to 11, or that total starts tanking. To me, that's really important because low bet game, not a lot of public interest in this one, but late money will break probably one way or the other. So
Right.
I think that's a game that I'd certainly put a pin in track. So shout out to you for identifying that one.
I'll have to put a pin in that one.
Don't you love when people say that? Let's put a pin
Right?
in it. I actually hate that. I don't know why I said that. It annoys me when people say that. Actually, it's like the CEO in their suit telling you like, "Hey, well, we'll get to that later." But anyway, but yeah, man, that about does it. I didn't have too much more here. Looking toward tomorrow. Let's see, 21 game slate. I'm already looking at some early moves. Just because we got a little time to kill. Let me see what Rithmm has for Sacred Heart. Because I know, and I don't know if they even have this one yet because it's tomorrow. I guess they do. Okay, nothing yet. I just noticed Sacred Heart tomorrow just ticked up from -1.5 to 2.5 or 3. Thought maybe money was flowing there, but it looks like Rithmm doesn't have any data yet to recommend anything. But we do have Saturdays, which are huge, so definitely keep an eye out for some of these Saturday splits as well. But yeah, that about does it, man. Any final thoughts here before we get out of here?
Anybody gutsy enough to fade Miami, Ohio in their last game before going undefeated for a regular season?
You know
Might
what,
have
man?
to run it back for a one time.
I know. Hold on. So that was the what'd you get? 8 in that game?
Was it last week or
Was
last
it
week's
Bowling
show?
against Bowling Green or Eastern Michigan?
Bowling Green, they got
Yeah.
smoked. Yeah, that wasn't close.
Yeah,
Green
I saw
Star
something
under.
like
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. So tomorrow they're at Western Michigan.
I guess so.
And they're laying 12.5. Let's just see if Rithmm has anything for that one.
I love fading teams like that, so I'm gonna have to wait and see where it's at. But
Let's see. Rithmm 13.5. Almost 14. 10.5. Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about Miami being undefeated is they're, in the MAC, like a smaller conference. So
yeah,
they only have 2 games left?
I thought this was it.
Or this is it?
I think so. Mine had the Green Star under. I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit more though. But
yeah. But hey, the thought process makes a ton of sense. Bet against a team that everyone is, getting a lot of, reading their own headlines and and playing great. Although I don't know, I was watching one game and they showed the some highlights on the Red Hawks game, and they were like, they made it sound like they may or may not make the NCAA tournament. I'm like, what? They're undefeated.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
As much as it sucks, I mean, like I've seen the same stuff, and it's I don't want to say it's true, but I get the point because that it is a bad conference. They they could be dogs in the first round for all I know. I'd still.
But just like, man, you're what are you 27-0 now?
Right. Yeah.
28-0. They're ranked 21st. You better be making the tournament.
It is crazy. I know there's one big one tomorrow, the Michigan-Illinois game, where I think Michigan's going to get probably, if I had to guess, at least a majority of tickets and money. I want to see if I can get Illinois in that one, maybe.
Ooh, that's like a pick'em game.
Yeah.
Let's see what Yeah, that'll be interesting too. I love kind of when you're a pick'em type game, where does the line break? Because, pros might have a pick'em too, that which means they're not going to hit it. There's no edge either way. But if you have a pick'em and it flips to one team -1 or -2, that's certainly notable to me.
Right.
But I'm with you. I would assume public's going to be all over Michigan at a coin flip. And let's see, Rithmm. Michigan should be -0.6, -0.4, -0.1.
Wow.
So, yeah, we can kind of wait on that one, see how the betting market reacts. I would assume it's going to be probably a contrarian play on Illinois, but we'll have to see how that thing goes.
I'm gonna hope for a 2. If I get a 2,
Yeah.
I might have to jump. But yeah, we'll see.
And also losing to Duke, like, does that mitigate the love for
Right. Yeah.
Michigan at all?
You never know.
Kind of see how that goes. All right, buddy. Well, let me see. Let me take that off, and we will do our farewell address as always, Cade. But good job, my man. Really glad you highlighted Michigan State, Purdue. I'll be rooting for your over there, and officially Drexel for me, as well as Wagner and Utah Tech. 3 money lines there, trying to get 2 out of them, 2 out of 3, Cade, and get your over as well. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Another Thursday edition of the Rithmm Rundown. It's always a pleasure to host this show. Reminder, you can download Rithmm, give them a 5-star review in the App Store, take advantage of the refer a friend, take advantage of the Discord. Pretty soon we'll have our brackets coming out here, which will be a lot of fun. And before you know it, Cade, the snow will be gone. It'll be baseball and March Madness. So very much looking forward to that. But take us home, buddy. Any final thoughts before you sign off here?
Man, yeah. Stay the course. We're almost there, March Madness is approaching. Spring training's almost over. No, opening day's like 2.5 weeks away. I don't know. Is it 3 weeks? I guess 3 weeks. Might be like a month. A month from tomorrow. Or wait, is it a month from today? I think it's a month from today. I think it's March 26th. That just got me excited. All right, well, there we go. But yeah, we're rooting for points tonight and a big one. And obviously root for our mid-majors. I know the robots love the mid-majors. That's like one of my favorite sayings with this app. I love it. They're always on it. So yeah, root for those 3, and then we'll circle back next week.
Awesome. Well, great job, buddy, and thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you next week on another edition of the Rithmm Rundown with myself, Josh Applebaum, my buddy Cade Harper. Good luck, everybody, and have a great Thursday night.